That song is so German feeling to me. It's just so Scorpions. Just picture like beer steins going through the air.
That was just incredible hearing that again.
Uli John Roth era Scorpions. We've talked about them many times. A lot of people feel that or only know Scorpions from the blackout period on, but they had many records with Uli John Roth as their guitar player throughout the 70s. And that is from the Taken by Force album, Sails of Sharon, a great one. Obviously an influence on you, Vito?
I couldn't live without that song.
You could hear a little, now that you pointed that out, and now that I listened to that song and his playing, I could definitely hear that.
It was just, back then it was a lot of the Hendrix guys,
He's a total Hendrix disciple.
Yeah, I mean, I just had those guys just revolving in a loop. It was just Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, Robin Trower, Uli Roth.
How about Rory Gallagher? Did you ever listen to Rory Gallagher?
Yeah, I listened to Rory, but it was just a little... there was a certain time in my life where I went for the technical guys, the guys who were doing stuff that, not blues-based, just more of... I'm not saying Rory Gallagher doesn't play like that, but maybe I was gravitating more towards the Hendrix-type stuff.
I never really heard Rory's stuff, but the reason why I ask you that is because Glenn Tipton was here not too long ago, and that's his all-time favorite guitar player.
Really?
Glenn Tipton. So I thought, it's always interesting to see, the guys that, we all love, where they kind of, got their inspiration from.
Yeah, it's just, in my case, it was just a blend. I loved Peter Frampton. When people say, well, your solos were melodic and White Lion, well, that's all Peter Frampton, all of it.
Great player. Yep.
But, Peter Frampton by himself, you end up just doing melodies. But then I had to have the other side of it,
right.
The aggressive part of it, and that was, like I said, Robin Trower, Uli Roth, and, Pat Travers, was all of these great guitar players in the Rick Derringer. Mm-hmm. All of those guitar players. Everything to me back then was guitar.
Yep.
It was, and it was funny because Elton John was such a big part of what I listened to, and that had no no guitar at all.
Right. But I'm sure it had a big impact on your songwriting.
Well, yeah, obviously, the melodies and everything,
sure.
and that's why when White Lion had a certain sound, that's it always had a melody. So we were different. No, we were not Metallica. We weren't trying to be Metallica
sure.
back then. When people. People back then would say, well, I just saw Metallica. Well, we weren't trying to be that way. But, when you grow up listening to Elton John, and I've read where Axl Rose, the same thing. Elton John was a big influence. That comes out in the songwriting, and you want to hear melodies, you want to hear something catchy, you want to hear some harmonies and all that stuff. But then when it comes time to that part of the song where they say, well, now you got to play a solo, well, that's when the guitar players come in.
Yeah, and a lot of the whole thing in the 80s too, and even now. I mean, that's a big thing now, and that's why I always, whenever you hear me talk about this show and what I do on the radio, I always just distinguish. I always say hard rock and heavy metal. You'll always hear me say that because I feel they're two very different things, and I play both and like and support both, but they're very different things. And even now, in the 80s, and even now, everything gets in this banner of metal, bands that never claimed they were metal, and then people are like, dude, you aren't metal, real metal. Well, that band never said they were metal. That's right. Just, they got put in that category. It was others calling them that. But, there's rock bands, there's hard rock bands, there's metal bands, there's,
Sure, I mean, you just
the death metal guy.
Right, you just played a song, let's get crazy, let's get wild. I mean, we're not trying to be metal there. I mean, I doubt you're going to find me a Slayer album where the guy says, let's get crazy, let's get wild. It's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that, you're, I can't say some of these words.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What words?
Just,
because they're bad or because you actually can't say them?
No, I just got to watch my language.
I'll tell you, I got another show you can say whatever you want on.
Okay, all right.
You can use all those salty words all you want. All right, we got to take a break. Vito Bratta is here. We have about 35 minutes left to go on the show, and the line's still jammed to people that want to get on the line. What I think we need to do is, and again, as I tell people, and if you're a new listener to this show, it's different every week. Sometimes it's a lot of music. Sometimes it's more talk and discussion, which this one clearly is, and with very good reason. Vito hasn't done anything like this in about 15 years. So many of you guys want to jump on the line. With the remaining minutes, we'll get as many calls as we can.
So bad.
What do you mean?
I feel so guilty. I'm sorry.
What do you mean guilty?
Sorry, Ed, that I took so long.
Well, now you know that everyone loves you and that this is like a safe place. And you're very close where you live, so you come and you hang out anytime. And then the times you come now that we've broken the ice here, now you come, you just be like Wayne. You could just come and look at, drink beer and not even do anything. You don't even have to contribute. You can just come and hang out anytime you want.
Is it just your show that Wayne's on?
Yeah, exactly. What, do you think anyone else would let him in the building?
Or does he stay here all day? He's a happy guy.
All right, let's take a break right now. More calls with Vito Bratta coming up right after this.